Welcome in, everyone. Today's explainer is really designed to be a gentle, supportive guide through a pretty fascinating area of fertility science, and that's endometrial receptivity. If you're exploring fertility care right now, or just looking for ways to really empower your journey, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to look at these incredible, science-backed tests called EMA and ALICE. They essentially help providers understand the hidden environment where a pregnancy actually begins. So let's just dive right in.
Navigating fertility care is, well, it's profoundly personal. And let's be honest, it can be incredibly emotionally taxing, especially if you've experienced heartbreaking setbacks like implantation failure or pregnancy loss. You might literally find yourself asking, why is this happening? Or is there something we're just totally missing here? It is completely normal to feel overwhelmed by all of this. But here is the really hopeful part. New science is shining a massive light on some hidden answers. We're discovering that sometimes the key to a successful pregnancy lies in something we literally can't even see with the naked eye.
And that brings us to a core question from our source material. What is the actual effect of endometrial microbiota on fertility? Now, I know microbiota might sound like a super intimidating medical term, but it really just refers to the microscopic community of bacteria that naturally live inside the body. For the longest time, the inside of the womb, the endometrium, was thought to be a completely sterile environment. But surprisingly, we now know that's just not true. This microscopic environment inside the womb directly, and I mean directly, impacts the chances of an embryo successfully attaching and growing.
I actually want you to think of the human uterine endometrium not as some cold, clinical space, but rather as a really delicate, natural ecosystem. It's kind of like a carefully tended garden. For an embryo to really thrive, this garden needs a very specific balance of microbes and healthy cellular immune responses. When all of these biological signals are working together in perfect harmony, they create this beautifully welcoming, receptive environment for a pregnancy to begin.
Interestingly enough, the word bacteria isn't always a bad word. In fact, healthy, asymptomatic women naturally have a specific type of bacteria hanging out in their endometrium called lactobacilli. You actually might recognize that name from the probiotics you take for your gut health, right? Well, in this uterine garden, lactobacilli are absolutely the good guys. They protect the environment, keep things nicely acidic and healthy, and actively support the endometrium in being receptive to an embryo.
When we compare these different environments, a pretty stark difference emerges. On one hand, we have a perfectly balanced endometrium. It's calm, ready for an embryo, and totally dominated by those beneficial protective lactobacilli we just talked about. On the flip side, we have an imbalanced endometrium. This is where those good bacteria have basically been pushed out by bad bacteria. And this imbalance, it leads to microscopic uterine infections, hidden inflammation, and a really activated immune response. Essentially, the garden just becomes hostile to new life.
So, the absolute crucial point here is understanding the real-world consequences of this shift. When that delicate balance goes off track and the microbiota becomes abnormal, it can severely impair an embryo's ability to implant. Our sources actually note that this hidden imbalance can be the root cause behind unexplained implantation failure, totally devastating pregnancy loss, and a host of other gynecological conditions. I know that's really tough to hear, but I want to gently remind you of something important. Identifying this imbalance is the very first vital step toward fixing it. You really can't treat what you don't know is there.
Thankfully, medical science has actually given us a way to peek inside this ecosystem. There are 3 specific diagnostic tests that doctors are using right now to map out your unique uterine environment: the ERA, the EMA, and the ALICE. Try to think of these not as scary, invasive medical procedures, but as really helpful guides. They basically allow your healthcare provider to figure out exactly what is happening with your endometrial receptivity so they can chart a safe, totally customized path forward just for you.
Let's go ahead and break these down, starting with the ERA test, or the endometrium receptivity array. Now, the ERA doesn't actually look at bacteria at all. Instead, it's looking at your genetics. It evaluates the expression of 238 specific genes to pinpoint your personal optimal window for implantation. Because sometimes, an embryo doesn't attach simply because the timing was off by literally a single day. The ERA acts as this highly accurate predictor, basically telling your doctor the exact day your endometrium is functionally ready. And that is incredibly helpful for patients who have experienced implantation failure, even with really good quality embryos.
Moving right along, we transition over to the EMA test, which stands for Endometrium Microbiome Metagenomic Analysis. While the ERA is checking the timing, you can think of the EMA as checking the soil of your garden. It specifically looks to see if you have enough of those good, protective lactobacillus we talked about a little earlier. And the research here is huge.
It shows that having adequate levels of lactobacillus is linked to decreased miscarriage rates and significantly improved pregnancy chances during IVF. The EMA test really just takes all the guesswork out of whether your environment is properly balanced. If you do undergo the EMA test, the whole process is very straightforward and honestly incredibly empowering. First, your endometrial sample is analyzed and classified as either lactobacillus dominant, which is great, meaning you have a healthy protective environment, or non-lactobacillus dominant. And hey, if your profile happens to lack those good bacteria, you absolutely do not need to panic. Your provider will have a super clear, actionable treatment plan ready to go. Usually this involves a tailored combination of antibiotics to clear out any of the bad guys, followed right up with probiotics and prebiotics to rebuild those good bacteria.
I actually just want to pause here for a second, because this is such a deeply comforting reality. Restoring the balance of your uterine microbiome is highly, highly treatable. If your EMA test comes back showing an imbalance, it is definitely not a permanent roadblock. It's a very manageable condition. Using familiar, supportive interventions, like those specialized probiotics and prebiotics, your doctor can gently and effectively restore your uterine garden back to optimal health long before you ever transfer a precious embryo.
And finally, we have the ALICE test, which stands for Analysis of Infectious Chronic Endometritis. While the EMA test is looking to see if you have enough of the good guys, the ALICE test is specifically designed to hunt down the bad guys. It actively evaluates the uterus for the presence of specific, highly damaging bacteria that cause a condition known as chronic endometritis. These are the sneaky bacteria that could be secretly threatening an implanting embryo behind the scenes.
So why is finding these specific bad bacteria so incredibly critical? Well, it's because harmful endometrial bacteria cause chronic inflammation. They literally turn the endometrium into a hostile environment. This hidden inflammation is heavily associated with heartbreaking outcomes, like implantation failure and recurrent miscarriage. But again, finding them provides something so incredibly valuable to you, an actual explanation for past losses that maybe were just labeled as unexplained before. It gives you a direct, clear target for healing.
And the best part? The path to healing is incredibly straightforward. If the ALICE test detects these damaging bacteria, the journey from diagnosis to healing is simple. Your healthcare provider will just prescribe a targeted course of antibiotics. That's literally it. It's just a simple medication protocol to clear out the hidden infection, soothe that inflammation, and fully restore a safe, welcoming environment for your future baby. Honestly, it is a profound relief for so many patients to finally find a physical barrier to pregnancy that can be fixed with just a basic prescription. There's a piece of clinical research from our sources that perfectly summarizes this entire explainer today. And it says, changes in the endometrial microbiome can affect the reproductive potential of infertile females. Analyzing and addressing your microbiome, it isn't just some fringe alternative theory. It is a powerful, science-backed way to truly take control of your reproductive health. It proves that the tiny, microscopic details of your body's ecosystem absolutely matter in your fertility journey.
I know we've covered a whole lot of acronyms today, ERA, EMA, ALICE, but please remember that these aren't meant to be intimidating medical jargon. They are simply tools in your toolkit. Knowledge is your roadmap to hope here. By utilizing these tests, you're giving your doctor the exact roadmap they need to support your totally unique body. You're moving away from the stressful guesswork and moving straight towards a highly personalized, deeply understood approach to your own fertility care.
So, I want to leave you with this thought today. Are you ready to discover how understanding your body's hidden ecosystem could actually be the key to a successful pregnancy? If you've been tirelessly searching for answers, I really hope this explainer has left you feeling empowered, hopeful, and informed. You absolutely now have the knowledge to walk right into your next clinic visit and confidently ask your doctor if exploring your uterine microbiome might be the right next step for you. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Take care of yourself out there, and please keep holding on to hope.